Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's Redington virtual sessions. Today's topic is Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform. It will be presented by Amir. At the end of the session, you can please add any question that you have in the Q&A tab. They will be answered towards the end of the session. Over to you, Amir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe in this period of time. So, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Amr Abdeshafi. I'm a senior consultant working with Redington Gulf as a pre-sales. I'm handling the Nutanix portfolio for the region. So I'm working with the partners like you, helping them with sessions like this and going with with them to the customer. So if you need any help, just reach out. Today we'll talk about Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform and how we take the customer from the three-tier infrastructure through HCI to the truly enterprise private cloud. So, well, first, our agenda is the customer journey, how we started, how we take the customer in a time of uncertainty. So we'll stress about the business continuity solution provided by Nutanix and the AUC from the options of AUC that is Nutanix can provide you. And then we'll talk about customer workload to put on Nutanix and the support of Nutanix. So we'll start with what is IT now helping the business. So the main focus of any company of our customer is the business to grow, and sometimes IT is choking the business and for the time to deploy new ideas or time to market, as we see. So here on the left, you can see a traditional infrastructure component of three different or multiple layers of infrastructure: storage network, storage arrays, network and servers and hypervisor. So all of these different vendors, different layers, administrators take a lot of time to manage it, and think of the process that to acquire or upgrade any part of acquire a new hardware or upgrade any part of this layer. It's a lot of time, a lot of capex, upfront capex the customer must pay. So the people managing, instead of managing this infrastructure, they just wasting their time in just maintaining it and upgrading it. So they are not innovating for a new stuff, and we are not freeing the customer IT department time. So some customer went ahead to the cloud. They saw the problem in on-prem, the 3D infrastructure, but they thought that the answer is in the cloud. Why the cloud? Because it's self-healing, software-defined everything, web scale, and on off-the-shelf hardware. You just what you need, you just deploy it and use it, and no single point of failure in the whole tiers of the cloud. So what the customer getting from the cloud, from rapid time to market, pay as you grow, one-click operation, continuous innovation, all of this, we want to bring it to the customer on-prem. And what is all of this is built? What is the cloud is built on? Is software, SDDC, software-defined data center. So software-defined everything. So what we, as Nutanix, started with, we started with the HCI. We built one block that has a storage, a network, and the servers, all in one block, and the customer use it from a single pane of glass to deploy their workload on top of it, and all of them. Then we build with the customer enterprise clouds that can secure and automate their application. So we are just not doing the hyper-convergent infrastructure, we are building the ecosystem around it, from automation and monitoring and all of that. And then in this day, in our a study did in 2019 with CTOs, all like 80-90% said the way to go is the hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud, because not all the application is fit for the public cloud, and vice versa, because if it's a predictable application, it's better to deploy it on-prem. If it's unpredictable, like something like website or unpredictable application, the cloud is the best suit for it. So hybrid cloud, and with our solutions, what we will talk about is we enable the customer to have this multi-cloud and hybrid cloud portfolio. So what we have here is Nutanix, actually not all of Nutanix portfolio. So we like to classify them in 3 tiers or 3 groups. Nutanix core is the core, what is the customer must get in the beginning. This is the Acropolis itself, the core building block of Nutanix, the HCI software. With it, the Prism is the manageability console of Nutanix, single plane of management point for all of Nutanix, of most of the Nutanix products. And then we have Essential and Enterprise. So Essential and Enterprise is not a license tier, it's just a classification of certain products. So a customer can start with core and go with something like objects, or go with Leap. We'll talk about Leap, is the DR as a service solution. So there is no right way or wrong way. So what is the customer wants to start with, what is his need, we'll provide him for that. So we'll take you in a journey of all the products, how we did it from the HCI, and then with the Essential and Enterprise products. So Nutanix core. Nutanix core is what the customer will have a box. This box is any hardware of the customer choice, of whatever you're comfortable with. We have our own hardware, which is NX and DX. NX is like an OEM with a OEM manufacturer. DX is OEM with HP. So we partnered with HP August last year, and we went live with the DX offering, which is DL360 and DL380 and Apollo hardware sold from Nutanix. So this is the difference between NX and DX and the rest. So NX and DX, you will get everything from Nutanix. Support is from Nutanix for the software, and the hardware you would call Nutanix first. In Dell EMC, we have partnership with them, so they can OEM our software and sell it to the customer. Cisco, we have like a certified matrix. HP, we have again certified matrix. Lenovo, we have both ways. They can sell our hardware, their hardware on top of it, the software, or the customer can, or you can bundle software from Nutanix and hardware from Lenovo. So we have a lot of options for the hardware. Most of the hardware vendors are trusting Nutanix for the HCI workload, and we did the certification with them, so they can we can run Nutanix on top of it. So on top of hardware, we need hypervisor, of course. So what hypervisor we support? ESXi and Hyper-V, and we have our own hypervisor, which is Acropolis hypervisor, which comes with the product with no additional cost. We'll talk about it. It's KVM based, so we didn't. The most common question I get asked, is it a new hypervisor? No, it's a KVM based. It's a free hypervisor that come with the solution. The customer can use it to eliminate the cost of hypervisor from the other vendor, or if you wish not to use it, it's okay. And it comes fully supported from Nutanix. On top of the hypervisor, we have our own, like the bread and butter of Nutanix, the HCI software, which we call it Acropolis or AOS. So Acropolis OS is the one who will do the storage virtualization and pooling of the storage and all of that. And at the end here, Prism is the one single plane management, so we can manage the hypervisor layer, the storage layer, and the hardware layer from Prism on. So here is the journey, like how the infrastructure evolved across the years. So like 90s, before 2000s, we had this type of layout. You have direct attached storage for one server and one application running on top of it. This server or this hardware have any problem or Windows are update or anything, this application will go down for the time that is restarting or until you bring a new hardware or anything. And we evolved from that after virtualization with a pool of servers like a cluster, 3 nodes or more. On top of it, you have virtualization layer and your application running on top of it. So if one node or one server goes down, the application will restart, will have the HA kick in and restart on another node. But what is the enabler or the must, the technology that is must be implemented to have this kind of virtualization is the shared storage. You have to have the shared storage from any vendor, but you can see this this diagram will have multiple storages, multiple performance connected to a storage network, and each storage will have 2 storage controllers. This we can say it's like a bottleneck because if you max out the storage controller performance, you need to increase or you need to acquire a new one, a higher end or something. And the other end, we got this hell of manageability part. Each layer will have its own console. Each layer will have its own HCI compatibility matrix. If you want to upgrade the firmware or the software or the driver, you need to check and you need to follow the troubleshooting and all of that. That is the hell for the administrator. So what Nutanix came to do is to eliminate all of this management console, and you will get and all of this tiers will get only one box. This one box will have our own software which is Acropolis running on any hardware, and on top of it you have your virtualization. As we said, we support Hyper-V and ESXi, and we have our own HV, and we support also Kubernetes deployment. And we believe virtualization and container is just a tool. So what we care about, what is the customer should care about, is his applications running on top of Nutanix and its data, the availability of the data, and that's it. So how we did it in like technically how we did it. So each storage controller or storage box will have 2 storage controllers or 2 storage processor depending on which vendor you are talking to. But this 2 is running as an active or active standby, and you have behind them just bunch of disk or HDDs and SSDs, and that does the tiering and all of that. But what we're trying to do with Nutanix is to bring the hyperscale that was running in the big data centers like Google and Facebook. They are not running SANs over there or centralized storage over there. They are running Hadoop-like architecture that is highly distributed across the nodes. So we removed all this hard disk and distributed across the nodes. So each node can be all flash or hybrid, which is HDDs and SSDs, or NVMe and flash. Okay, and instead of having only 2 controllers, when you scale, you get another 2 controllers, and you are like want to manage the copy management or migration of data from one box to another. We have a virtual controller. We call it controller VM. So this controller VM is the brain of Nutanix or Acropolis. It's running Acropolis OS, and it gives us a lot of functionalities and a lot of performance gain. So with that data locality that CVM bring, that will give the application maximum performance. So if a virtual machine doing a read, it will go from the virtual machine to the hypervisor to the CVM. Sorry. the message. So from virtual machine to hypervisor, and it will redirect it locally to the CVM, and it will read from the flash or HDDs locally. So this is the shortest path. If a virtual machine is doing right, it will write to a CVM local and another CVM through the network to have two copies of that. So why do we have two copies of data? For data resiliency. So if you have two copies of data, if node 1 goes down, I have another copy of data in node 2. So it's one-to-one mapping. No, it's very highly distributed and highly resilient. So if we started here, how easy it is, we just deploy it in day 0 and then we just configure it the same. If you want to increase one more node, we have one-click cluster expansion. You just increase another node, power it on, and through the wizard, just increase it to the cluster. Intelligent, because the data is always of a virtual machine or a certain app is always local, and it will always optimize for the best performance. And like the frequently accessed data, it will be kept in hot tier, and the infrequent hot data, it will be kept in lower tier or HDDs. And for resiliency, as I said, it's distributed architecture. So if one virtual the virtual machine data is in one node, and the copy of it will be distributed across the nodes. This gives us two things. So it's not to overwhelm one when a node goes down, if a node goes down. Not to overwhelm the other node for rebuilding the data. It is all the nodes are getting the data, so it's highly distributed, and we recover from a failure much faster. So if you need any, so if you want to ask anything, just write it in the chat box, and I will answer it later on. So what is the gain from doing the storage virtualization, what we did there? So basically we give the customer an enterprise class storage, and with the benefit of scaling unlimitedly. So like enterprise class features like snapshots and clone, data tiering, compression and deduplication. And we have RF2 and RF3, which I mentioned RF2, which we, two copies of the VM data will be present in one cluster. And RF2, the minimum number of nodes in RF2 is 3 nodes in the cluster. With RF3, I have 3 copies of the data in the same cluster, but there I need 5 nodes in that cluster to start with. Erasure coding, we support erasure coding, application consistent snapshots, and we have multiple replication types, from asynchronous replication, which is highly dependent on the network bandwidth and latency, and asynchronous replication, which is 1 hour replication. Near sync is it's a Nutanix technology that will give the customer from 1 minute to 15 minutes RPO. So this is very useful for the customer that is looking for a near sync replication, like 1 minute, without investing in the network. And because we are a software company, we heavily invested in security, in the code that we write, and security features like we can enable cluster lockdown, we can do data at rest encryption using an SED hardware self-encrypting device, or a software kind of normal SSDs and HDDs, and write the data encrypted into it. So in 2015, I think, we started the concept of remote office branch office. So typically for the HCI to work, minimum number of nodes are 3 nodes. So with robos, we reduce this to only 1 node cluster and 2 node cluster. So this is to lower the investment for the customers that have like 20 branches, or retail office, like 50 retail sites, to reduce the footprint and the cost of per site. And this is the benefit for using HCI in this situation. He can manage all of this through Prism, centralized management of all the sites, centralized upgrades, centralized same administrator can do all of it, and centralized backup. So we can implement like many-to-one backup solution, so all the sites can replicate the snapshots of the by end of day to the main site, and this is very effectively to restore for if anything happened. And the other thing, we introduced the robo license, so it's per virtual machine license. So if the customer only have two virtual machine, he will not pay for Nutanix the whole cost of Nutanix. It's just per virtual machine. It's very flexible, and for this use case. So this is Prism. This is, as I said, is the easiest thing to get the customer imported or the IT administrator on Nutanix. This is very easy to show to the customer to see the value of Nutanix, to have to be able to manage everything from one single pane of glass. So we can see here the Prism console, which will have this is the main dashboard, like the HCI version, what virtual machines, number of virtual machine, what is the hardware, what is the performance, cluster-wide performance, health status. If anything wrong, I can see it once I log into Prism. What is the issue here? I can see the alerts and all of that. Here is the virtual machine management. Either it's a virtual VMware. We support, as I said, HCI. We just need to integrate with the vCenter. Here we can see all the virtual machines running on HCI. We can power it on, power it off, configure network, add hard disk, and create a new virtual machine. And we can see the VM performance of each version, per virtual machine, and all the information like a serial or MAC address, IPs, all of this, you can see it here. And for the hardware itself, we can see if there is any hardware failure. We can see like logically where is the disk that's failed. I can see it presented there, and I can see the information, like detailed information, like the serial and the performance of each node, or performance, the hard disk capacity, all of that I can see it from the dashboard. And here is the storage dashboard. I can see from this one the summary of the storage, the usage, the capacity saving, the trends, the performance, all of this is there in the storage dashboard. And this is overall health. If there is any issues, how we detect the issues, if there is any alert, or we run something called NCC, Nutanix Cluster Check, periodically. And if there is any, this is like 200 plus checks that will run, and if there is any anomaly or any any service that's not running correctly, I can see the alerts right away, and I will have a KP that I just have to click on it. That will give me the how to resolve it, what is this common issue with because of that, and all of that. This is capacity runway, so I can see the current cluster can survive or can restrain the workload for 9 weeks. After that, we need to add more storage or more network, whatever it will give me a recommendation of. Or I can do what if scenario, a new workload. I can put it over as a parameters, and I can see what is the capacity runway if I added this workload. This is network visualization. This is available with HV only. So this is, I can see the virtual machine running in each node connected to each port on the physical switch. So this is very visually appealing. This is for the customer to troubleshoot, to see how his traffic is going. This is a centralized management. As I mentioned, we have if we have different clusters, we can manage all of them from one single plane of glass, which is Prism Central. Is just an additional virtual machine we can deploy. Okay, so for Nutanix HV, so we talked about core as a cropless, Prism, and HV. Next is HV. HV is license included, so the customer doesn't need to pay anything new or additional. It's highly integrated with our Prism. It's based on KVM, as I mentioned. And you will manage it from Prism only, and we have the ability to have micro segmentation and service chaining with Flow. So we'll talk about Flow in a bit. Flow is our micro segmentation east-west protection product. So we finished core portfolio. Now we'll go with Nutanix Essentials. So as I mentioned, Nutanix Essentials is not a license tier, it's just a group of products. So we'll talk about consolidation with file server consolidation and application automation and IT operation with more efficiency and insights and securing your application with Flow. So with Nutanix files, we can give the customer a built-in unified storage. So we give the customer a storage. This is HCI to run his virtual machines. So the customer, maybe they have like a NAS storage, a physical hard disk, and physical storage, and a NAS head on top of it, or he will use something like Microsoft File Server. So what we are trying here to give to the customer a unified storage. Instead of having a NAS, physical NAS, we'll have a NAS head. We'll have a virtual machine that run the file server on top of it. And it's 100% software defined, so we can scale it. We can reduce the manageability by having a single plane of management with Prism, so the administrator manage files with Prism, and it's very flexible. So how we mean flexible? You start with 3 nodes. You have it will use the Nutanix storage, like the storage have like 40 TB. It will get the storage from the Nutanix cluster, and whatever benefits or whatever features that Nutanix running under it, it will utilize it, like deduplication and compression, like data tiering. All of that is managed by Nutanix for the file services, and we accumulate on top of it. And even we up the game with files for the customer. We give him a totally free file analytics tool. You can see here on the left, it says the dashboard will give the customer a capacity trend, malicious activity. If there is someone is trying to access something that is not, he doesn't have access to, top users, the file distribution type, what is how many GBs in file, videos, images, all of that, all the file or the data usage, what is inactive, what is recently used, all of that. And we have an audit tab here. This audit will, like, you can type a file, file name, it will give you who's the last access it, who did what on it, like edited or deleted or anything. Or you can write a user, will give you a report, what is this user. So this is the audit rate and anomaly detection. So if you have something malicious that is just deleting a lot of files or dumping a lot of files, you can define this anomaly and will send an alert to the administrator for it. And the second thing we talked about for essentials is automation of your application. So if an administrator is deploying the same application for the development team every 1 week or every 1 day, he will use all his time just deploying it, and maybe because we are all human, maybe there will be a mistake here and there, or versioning and all of that. So what we try with Calm is a cloud. It's not Stay Calm. It's just an acronym for Cloud Automation Lifecycle Management. It's an application lifecycle management. It means I deploy an application end to end with the same configuration, and I can scale it, decommission it with one click from Calm. And it supports multi-cloud. This means I can deploy the same application or the same blueprint, we call it blueprint, onto on-prem on HV, for example, on Nutanix, or I can deploy the same on cloud, AWS or Azure. So as I mentioned, blueprints. What is blueprint? So we have components defined in the blueprint, like VM, how many VMs, how many, what is the base application running on each VM, the configuration of that, and the network, and some policies that who can access it, who the dependencies. I have to deploy the database first and deploy the applications, then I deploy the web front end, and the connectivity between them, and all of that, the security access, all of that, combine all in a blueprint, and I have an application. So the user can just deploy, end user, the development team for this example, he can deploy the application whenever he needs, and we can give him a quota to increase or decrease his, deploy more, scale out or scale in his application. The other thing we'll talk about, the last thing in Essential, is flow. Flow is the micro-segmentation and east-west security, traffic security. So when we talk about east-west traffic, is the virtual machine to virtual machine communication. So customer right now have his like the data center firewall or perimeter firewall setting between the virtual machines and the end user, or between the virtual machine and outside world in the internet. But the virtual machines can communicate freely to each other. If they are in the same VLAN, they don't need even to touch the firewall, just communicate freely to each other. So there's two ways to go to protect the virtual machine to virtual machine traffic, is to build a firewall or enable firewall on each virtual machine, or to build a firewall in kernel on the hypervisor. So this is why we brought Flow. Flow is a micro segmentation, means I have a firewall sitting on front of each virtual machine and network interface, allowing or denying the firewall rules that I define. I can have an isolation, mean like the production environment cannot talk to the development environment. So this is an isolation rule. Or I can set a rules that the database application, the application can only talk to the database through this ports only. And the outside world, this user group or this user subnet will talk to this front end on this port only. So it's very high for the security practice is very highly we need to push it to the customer because it's with this in this age, like ransomware and all of that, you need to protect VM to VM communication. And the other thing is with Flow is the VDI. If you we'll talk about VDI. If you are deploying VDI, you need to protect the virtual machine in instance. If someone log in or brought in a malicious software, so to prevent easily spreading across the virtual machines or the VDI machines, Flow will work perfectly with that. Flow will work only with HV. With this is one-click operation. This one-click is we carry out carry out this concept through all Nutanix products: one-click operation, one-click upgrade, one-click optimization. All of this one clicks is really work. So if the customer deployed his cluster with 3 nodes, for example, and you want to add a new node, you just go to the wizard and add a new node. The node will configure it. The cluster or foundation will configure the new node and add it to the cluster and say the node is added, just a notification. One-click capacity optimization means I can just run a report. I can see how many virtual machines are inactive, how many virtual machines are over-provisioned, under-provisioned. All of this I can see, and I can optimize it through that wizard. And licensing-wise, Nutanix Prism Pro, it has an additional license. So within Nutanix Enterprise, we focus on how to operate the multi-cloud, how to build modern application like Kubernetes and all of that, and eliminate the cloud boundary. With Carbon here, Carbon is our solution for Kubernetes. So it's easy to deploy with Carbon a Kubernetes cluster, and you can deploy it in just a minute, and that's it. And it comes totally free of cost to the customer to use. And here for multi-cloud, the customer who is using like cloud-first strategy or multi-cloud strategy, we will give him Xi Beam. Xi is our own. When you see Xi, it's like our own cloud offering. It's you will get it. It's a SaaS offering. Okay. We have Xi Beam and Xi Frame. So Xi Beam means it's an online portal that you give it as like your subscription of public clouds and private clouds, and it will give you cost, visibility, and optimization. So I can see if I'm running on AWS and Azure, I can see if I can this project, how much is running across different VPCs, across different clouds. I can see this project, how much it costing me. And capacity optimization, if I'm running a new workload, I will put it on Beam. It will tell me, recommend to me it's cheaper to run it on private cloud or in Azure or in AWS. And centralized governance and as I mentioned, budgeting and tracking each project and each team, what is it's paying, and automated security compliance. So I can define a security rule, and it will remediate it and give a recommendation for it. So as we mentioned, a modern application with Carbon, one-click Kubernetes. Era is a database management and automation. So I can solve the issue with database copy management. Like I have the same database in production and development and UAT. With Era, I can just take a snapshot from the production and send it to the development or the UAT. I can build a database solution or a database server from scratch and deploy it. With objects, objects is our solution for an object type of workload. Objects is think of it like Amazon S3 is very scalable. It can go up to petabytes, and with Nutanix you get 2 terabytes free of cost with objects to try it out. Volumes is our own. It's a block storage to the virtual machine and physical service. So we virtualize the storage and bring the virtual machine onto Nutanix What if there is a physical machine that needs that previously was mapped to the SAN and needs a LUN, for example? With volumes, I can map it directly. I create a volume and map it through iSCSI to the physical machine, like a SQL or something. Or if I have a shared virtual machine that requires a shared storage, like a Microsoft failover cluster, so with volumes, I can do that. Okay. Now we'll talk about the business continuity and how easy with Nutanix XI Leap to go to the cloud, build your own DR. So as I mentioned, XI is something on like SaaS. So think of it like iCloud. iCloud, you just go on your iPhone, enable iCloud. Is just that simple, single. You have full control from Apple on the replication or in your data. Once you need it, you just go ahead and download whatever you need from the cloud. So we have
what we need is a native and
sorry for that. I hope you can see my screen. So the iCloud is it's our own cloud. We have Xi Leap that you can, for the customer, if he's a Nutanix customer, he can quickly and easily start replicating his virtual machine to the cloud, to Xi Leap. And whenever he needs, he can fail over to the cloud these virtual machines and fail back. So this is it's a subscription base. How many virtual machines you have, you pay for the storage, and whenever you fail over, you have the ability to fail back anytime, and you pay the time that you have failed like migrated to started the virtual machine there. So it's think of it as not just DR. If the customer needs to scale for a certain time and he doesn't have the infrastructure and he doesn't need to buy a new hardware, he can just push the virtual machine to the cloud, run it there for a few weeks, and then scale and then bring the virtual machines back. Very flexible, very simple, and even the virtual machine will keep the same IPs, will manage the networking from there. So it's built in one-click simplicity and seamless extension to the cloud. So now we'll move to Nutanix solutions for the VDI or AUC. So IT challenges, we see this right now with everyone working from home. We need to implement VDI very, very smoothly, very cost effective, very very fast. So VDI project typically takes a lot of time, typically very complex, and cost of it is it will take a lot of time to implement and a lot of cost. So the benefits of running VDI on Nutanix, so excellent end user experience and scalability. So the idea with HCI is when you add more nodes, you increase the performance linearly. So with the scale, the same user experience will be maintained. Faster time to delivery. You can deploy Nutanix in a matter of minutes, like hours, and On top of it, you have pre-validated solutions. We can so it will make the life or the implementation cycle of VDIs very easily, always on availability and improved efficiency. So our solution, you have the HCIs, you remember core, you have your Acropolis OS, Prism, and AHV with its flow, as it easily integrates with AHV with the VDI solution. And you have here the virtualization layer, HV, Hyper-V, SXI. On top of it, you can deploy Citrix or VMware. And we have files can integrate with this solution as a home folder or home directory storage. So this is how it looks like. You have a cluster, Nutanix cluster running on top of it, the virtual machine or VDI machines. You manage it from Prism, data locality, or whatever we talked about is there, and we can eliminate the cost of the hypervisor with HV. So linear scaling, what I just mentioned, think of this diagram on the left, the response time of a certain application with 300 users. When we scale to 1,200 user and 3,000 user, you can see it's just like no linear scale. It's decreased for a bit. The response times give us faster response and then increased for a small bit. And with Nutanix, we have a XI frame, which is a desktop as a service. So the benefit of having a desktop as a service solution is instant start. So whenever you need a desktop solution, you just scale immediately. Top-notch security. So we handle the security of the controllers. So the normal or traditional desktop VDI or desktop virtualization, you have your controllers on-prem, Citrix or VMware. With Frame, you have the controllers managed by Nutanix itself or XI Frame. So all the security just we manage it. You just need to integrate with your identity solution like Active Directory, ADFS, or Auth0. And we'll talk about the different, and the user can start logging into their VDI images and change the way you pay for your VDI from CapEx to OpEx. And we support multi-cloud. Actually, Frame is supported on on-prem, on AHV, or Amazon or Azure. So as you can see here, home directories is you can choose any online or shared drive like OneDrive, like Google Drive or Dropbox, or you can use files. Your infrastructure can be on the cloud like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or if you are in US, you can use the government clouds, or you can have on-prem. So desktop as a service can be Frame, hosted on the cloud or on-prem, or you can have Citrix Cloud with the integration with InstaOn to integrate with the on-prem and deploy the VDI machines on-prem. We'll focus now on Frame, how it works. So you have a workspace delivered anywhere. So the application can be like a Word, like a heavily graphical application, or a simple any application can run. And it will be delivered to the end user through any browser. So it's a HTML5 based architecture or based GUI. So any browser can work, any cloud, any storage, any authentication services like Okta, like Auth0, like ADFS, and then deploy it on any cloud. So we'll talk like how it's simple to deploy Frame or not to use Frame in just minutes. You just start with the infrastructure. Either you bring your own subscription, or Nutanix will provide like a subscription ID for you. Authorize users, integrate with your identity identity access control, whatever you are using. Bring your application. You can build your like the golden image, a master image, and install the application on, or this is the VDI, or we can do application virtualization, so the user can just use applications using you install a file like a Windows server on top of it as applications you need. So connect files, whatever you want to use, OneDrive, Dropbox, any file storage or any storage solutions that you want to connect to, deliver it to your users using any device or any location. And if your users are like distributed around the globe, we can deploy for some users on different locations and all of that. So let's have a look again for the solutions or the portfolio of Nutanix. The Nutanix core, as we mentioned, this is a building block of what we start with our customer building block of Nutanix, Acropolis with HV and Prism. Then we'll move about to the essentials. Files is, as I mentioned, is a files server that is can share SMP and NFS to the end user. It's licensed per terabyte. The first terabyte is completely free. The customer can use it, and it's supported by Nutanix. After that is per terabyte. Flow is the micro-segmentation and security east-west network security part. Calm is automation. It's per node license. It's per node. Calm is the automation tool of Nutanix application delivery. So it's per 20. It is the first 25 virtual machines are completely free of cost. Your customer can use it. Nutanix customer can use it, and after that, it's a pack of 25 virtual machines. Prism Pro is the additional monitoring and capacity planning and reporting, all of that addition to Prism, and its license also. Then this is enterprise solutions with all the SaaS offering like Xyleap, Xyframe. We talked about it in details, this stuff. So what should we run on Nutanix? So as we started as a solution for a VDI for VDI, but currently all the enterprise workload can run on Nutanix. All of that supported. Even SAP HANA is supported to run on Nutanix. So it's trusted and implemented, and there is a use cases online. And freedom of choice is a big thing with Nutanix. It's what differentiates Nutanix with other competition. So you have a hypervisor of your choice, whatever is Hyper-V or VMware or HV, or any hardware the customer is more preferred to go with, supported, and any cloud solution like AWS, Azure, or Xi. So this is just some names that we have implementation in since 2009. and we are leading the customer experience or support by 7 support centers, follow the sun support with proactive support with Pulse, and we have scored since more than 5 years Net Promoter Score plus 90. Net Promoter Score, if you don't know about it, it's an independent entity that like scales the support of scales the support centers. So it either negative 100 to plus 100. So the average IT vendor is in 20s and 30s. So we are consistently plus 90 for the past 5 years. So since we bring the concept of HCI to the market in 2014, since then we are the market leader for the HCI. We are number 1 from Gartner, Forrester Waves, and IDC. And we have did a white paper. We can share it with you. This is to share it with the customer. This most important thing to convince the customer with the HCI is the TCO and ROI. So in this white paper, we lowered the total cost of ownership for the customer by 60% for the period of 5 years, and we increased the ROI for the 534. So and with lowering the TCO and ROI, we increased the uptime. So this is for the IT administrator, 97% fewer unplanned outages. So this is huge. This is what pushes the customer to go to the HCI and implement it. I would like to thank you and hope it was informative. I will just go and check the questions.